Hi, everyone. Welcome to Physics 47th meeting on the 6th of December, Wednesday. This is the last meeting of the year. And we've just had our first session of this meeting. Now we're going to start the second session for our second speaker. The first speaker was, of course, the incredible Marina Jacobi, who's just given us a fantastic session earlier. Now, I'm going to quickly introduce what we are about. We are FESIG, the Free Energy Special Interest Group. This is our website. Just go to truevisionofpeace.com/FESIG.html and you will see our site. And this is, if you go to the far right-hand corner, you'll be able to see how to get into our YouTube channel and our Facebook. Okay. And then if you scroll down, you see what we are about. It is a platform where scientists, researchers, developers of free energy come together to share ideas, exchange information, and so they can then search forth to go into the development of the technologies for the betterment of humanity. Now, so we had our first speaker, Marina Jacobi, who's just finished her session, and we're going to move on to Kevin Hay, a returning speaker for the third time. And look out for the future speakers that I'll put in here on the site. And if you scroll down, you'll be able to see all the speakers that have spoken in FESIG before. And if you scroll down further, you'll be able to catch up with all our meetings as they are all recorded here. Okay, the 46th meeting, that was the last one that we had. Before this one, we had our speakers, Michael Brown and Tom Palladino, talking about what they do best, and of course Tom was talking about scalar healing, and Michael was about the water activator. And as you scroll down, you see Patrick Kelly presenting a number of times, and Elizabeth and all the other speakers as well, including Carrie Cassidy, and so on and so forth. All right, so I'm going to pull out the PowerPoint presentation so you can see the agenda. Oops, sorry. Right. Oops, sorry. Oops. Okay. Now, today's meeting is the 47th, and this is the agenda. Just go down to the agenda. Okay. So we had Dr. Elizabeth co-chairing with me in the first session, and now we have James Ring co-chairing with me in the second session, where Kevin speaks. Okay, and Kevin is no stranger to FESIG because this is the third time that he's speaking in FESIG. And after they have all spoken, then we will adjourn to the next meeting. That will be next year on the 3rd of January. That will be our 48th meeting. Right. So I hope you join us again. The speaker that I was almost confirming is Martin Berger. He will be talking about cryptocurrency, and he'll be talking about his team of free energy scientists as well. And the second speaker is yet to be confirmed. Probably we'll get Marina back. We don't know. We will have to check with the schedule. What do you think, Marina? So anyway, I'm Crystal Goff. You can write to me through crystal@truevisionofpeace.com. Right, so I'm going to stop sharing now. I'm going to bring forth Kevin Hay. Kevin is no stranger, as I said. He's speaking again for the third time in FESIG because he's got plenty to share. And this time, he's going to bring his heart-hitting messages in a more impactful way. As repetition is the first law of learning, I keep saying. It's free energy science works, folks. And we all know that, but most of us are not paying attention enough to make it work for their own benefit. So he's here to remind us that he's given the blueprint and how to make it for free on his site. So about his site is linked to FESIG, where his name is. And so there you are. And his Vancouver Island Ormus cream is amazing. I've never seen anything like that. It's so awesome. Well, if you go to his last meeting that he did at FESIG, which I've showed you how to reach it and how to get hold of it. If you go to the first hour, how many seconds? The first hour, 8 minutes, 27 seconds. you'll be able to see testimony of how amazing his Ormus cream is working. He had hit his head accidentally with a baseball bat. And it was a big gash. And it took him only 12 days for the, I mean, he applied the Ormus cream on 12 days to close it up. Wow. So anyway, do look out for that. And he's really he's looking for a genuine, experienced marketing agent to help him distribute globally. So think about that, folks. These things work. Okay, so without much ado, I'm going to pass over the microphone to you. Kevin, bro, can you take it up now? And
Excellent.
Yes.
Thanks everybody for joining us today. It's good to see so many faces here and lots of new people joining in. I haven't been here for a bit. I've been actually trying to keep busy and keep working and keep my head down in production to make sure I can pave my own way here and sort of work towards my own goals. Let's see, give a little idea here on what I've actually underwent last year. It was just over a year ago that we found some people cooking methamphetamine in a building beside our Vancouver Island Ormus facility in Soup. When we tried to intercede, find out who was in there, I was actually attacked with baseball bats and a hammer and a steel pipe and an axe and several other weapons, a crowbar. I took the axe to the head. That's the top of my head. It was a hit from behind. You can see where the back of the axe went in right here and then came down on my head. So this was a really, really devastating head injury. I was CAT scanned twice at the hospital because they wanted to radiate me really, really good. So they declared that I had a broken nose, was the extent of my injuries, which I received when I was 17. So it wasn't a surprise. However, I had no broken cranium. I had no other serious damage other than lacerations on my head. As Crystal said, the transfer of these energetic functions that the Ormus provides, it's a torsion-based reaction that allows our bodies to, and plants, as you can see, to heal very, very rapidly and to create cellular reactions at accelerated rates. I don't have any private pictures here, so I don't mind scrolling through. But here's a picture of my head 12 days later. 12 days from that first injury. As you can see, it's healed up. It's sealed up very, very nicely, very, very rapidly. The doctors, everybody was incredibly surprised, just astounded that the wound healed as fast as it did. I actually had balance issues for a lot longer than I had any actual physical visible injuries, because the impact was so hard, it compressed vertebrae, it gave me a concussion. So it did take a little while to recover. The most important thing that I remember during this entire incident is that I had recently began to receive information in a similar manner that Marina does, where I opened my mind up. Basically, I shared myself in entirety. I shared my experience here, and I attempted to transmit it like radio transmitter. And when I did that, after I did that, the reaction that occurred while I slept was amazing. I was sent information in a context that I didn't quite understand, because most of it was mathematical or geometric. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the mechanics of it. What I have here is a picture of that Dr. Emoto developed. What he was working on was how our brain actually changes matter, how we influence our surroundings. And this is just absolutely dead on with what Marina was discussing, is that we actually manifest a plasma state reaction with our thoughts, and we actually change our physical reality. And this was observed in the molecular structure of water. There were sealed jars put in the Tokyo subway station with different images on the water. This one was love, or truth, it says. The positive energetic functions showed very, very incredible reactions, all in this tetrahedral, six-phase, hexahedral geometric formation, which I interpret as each one being a phase of movement and a compression, moving into a refracted zero-point initiation in the center, which is where the electrostatic function occurs, static meaning stationary. So the understanding of electricity is going to be crucial when trying to understand a shift in consciousness. Yesterday, Crystal and I had a conversation, and we both discussed how incredibly wearing and how worn out we've become trying to share information and work towards this change. And really, this should be easy. This should be something that we just fall into and energize ourselves with. So the fact that we're actually discussing this after I got off the phone with Crystal, I had a moment of realization, which was the simple fact that we have electricity right now. Very few people are applying it to what they need in a healthy, energetic manner. Very few people are using it for production. This energetic function is being wasted and diffused, and it's creating a frequency shift with our brainwave patterns. So it's creating almost a blanket insulatory reaction that I believe is actually being heightened by the GMO and the chemtrails and the polypropylene materials, our fuels that we're breathing and drinking, and our food and water. Everything that we consume is now affected by these oil polymers. And this is affecting the frequency of our brains, because our bodies are trying to absorb these materials as natural fatty acids, and we're trying to rebuild our bodies with what we're absorbing. This is creating a problem with moving to the next phase of our evolutionary aspects here and understanding who we are and these energetic transformations. And really, I think a big step forward will be understanding electricity, what it is and how we're using it, and what we're not seeing in the electrical function, which is the magnetic compression field, which is a codex of information. It is basically all the atoms, all the torsion fields, all the minds in the universe, all collectively communicating through a magnetic wave. Once we learn how to split this magnetic wave and create phase conjugation within it, which induces a square force reaction, a fractal reaction that we see as light function, that we can feel and identify with as a thought wave. These understandings are going to be crucial for us to be able to apply the electromagnetic function and move away from what we call free energy and understand that energy is everywhere. We exist in energy, as energy. Our thought waves are energy. And what we're actually discussing here is learning how to compress our energetic velocity, our inertia, and electrify it. So in essence, we're talking about electricity. The problem with the sharing of this information is Einstein's relative function doesn't represent energy. Einstein's relative function represents the energetic function of mass and velocity when it is refracted as an electrical reaction or an electromagnetic refraction. When we isolate these simple functions, and what I've done here is I pulled some, I keep forgetting, I start talking and forget I have a screen in front of me where I could share information when it's working. That is, often my screen does exactly what it's doing now. However, we can start seeing these reactions physically when we start to observe them in our biology. And we start to observe the bioelectrical function occurring through these waves refracting. I have far too many pictures here to begin just scrolling through them aimlessly. But when we compare electrical systems that were designed by, say, Victor Schauberger developed a system of utilizing water. This is a side view of a spin reactor. When we can energize and spin water, we can create a square force reaction within the water, the same as any flywheel works. So we can develop flywheels using water, and then we can apply the inertial potential of that water moving in a spin field as a mass squared reaction. And we can electrify that and create electrogravitational propulsion dynamics simply by increasing the velocity of the square force until the compression outward overrides the electromagnetic compression of the planet. Basically, what we're doing is we're creating a harmonized reactor. We are creating an electromagnetic spin field that creates the magnetic phase resonance of our planet. And once we do that, same fields repel, which allows the electrostatic repulsionary compression field to push away. Now we have electromagnetic compression as a propulsion system. This is not new information. This is actually very, very, very old information, and we can see a lot of this when we start looking at our planets. The system of planetary movement of any spin function induces what we see as cavitation. It induces a compression away from the core through the axis and outwards. And this is the square of force reaction that I call electrification. The simplicity of these reactions also demonstrates a square of force and the sacred geometry, where we can see, let me just get into, do a switch on here. We can actually get into the square of force field, and we can geometrically visualize this. So you're waiting for this thing to load. When I'm online like I am right now, what I'm trying to see is this image on the side here. That's what I just I tried to highlight, but it's not coming up. We actually see this refractionary geometric symbolism inside of any bitrodal inductive resonating function. And this is a very, very interesting schematic, because if we can take an electromagnetic wave and run it in 3 phases and close it in a loop and use a switching circuit to run side of it, run just one side of the system in an oscillating loop, what it does is it induces a back EMF wave. And that back EMF wave is now electrifying this secondary system. So the whole key in utilizing inertial gravitation is simply understanding how a water molecule splits a gravitational wave and inducts it as a scalar interferometer. And these are complicated words, but a lever is a scalar interferometer. A scalar interferometer is a system to split a gravitational wave function and gain a measurement, use, or reading from that reaction. So we can see that a lever does the same function as a wheel does. If we apply these things, my screen is so full of pictures, it's hard to find information when I want to share it. Here's another system that I designed, basically based on this understanding. And I learned this information through an attempt to understand the phase transfer that allowed us to remove the chloride bonded noble metals from the salt water. Basically, I needed to understand the electromagnetic process that was occurring inside the molecule that separated the noble metal group from the hydride, from the chlorine reaction. And it was through observing the water molecule and the fundamentals of falling water and hydroelectric facilities as an inertial gravitational system that I decided that there were a number of ways for us to develop a method of tapping our gravity in the same manner that water allows us to through inertia. So this was one of my first attempts at doing this. This was a very, very simple explanation that I thought could break through all of the physics, because I was running in circles discussing advanced atomic physics. And whenever I started to get into the actual heart of these functions, what happened was the academics were falling on their swords. They were falling on theory that could not be proven, hypothetical information that was really a manifestation of imagination and just theoretical interpretation, but really non-usable. So I needed to find a way that explained what I was talking with Marina earlier about, was an image that I saw with dual polar representations. This is what I was seeing, okay? I was seeing a spin field and a spin field in different colors, but I wasn't seeing the mechanics. I wasn't seeing a structure to organize, control, or utilize, or transfer the inertial reactions. What I was seeing was what I see Nassim Harriman doing. I was seeing this. And finger twirling does not answer our questions. It doesn't explain vortex mathematics. It doesn't explain how we utilize this and test it and apply it and make things work. So I maintained an investigation using magnets, and one day I came across a fellow named Velko Milkovic, who is a Ukrainian engineer, mechanical engineer, and he basically built the same system that I'm showing here, except he put a counterweight on the top of one side of the lever, and on the other side of the lever he hung a pendulum. And when he swung this pendulum, the pendulum was the same weight as the counterweight. So he had 10-pound counterweight and 10-pound pendulum. When this pendulum changed direction, it momentarily became weightless. And when it became weightless, the other side of the lever slammed down. And then, of course, the pendulum changes direction, pulling the lever back up, and then right here it becomes weightless again, and the lever slammed down. And I saw this as a modified hammer system, a way to increase the use through gravity, but I couldn't see a way, and I worked on this for quite some time. I figured out a method to use this compression right here to induce a magnet turning right here, so that the actual pendulum on a lever, it actually had a magnet right on the end of the post and a magnet right here that changed direction. So it was influencing the pendulum by pulling and pushing the top here. And that top was creating the compression here, which was creating the movement or spin to keep the magnet moving. This was a very simple method, but I couldn't see how to increase the force. I couldn't see how to accelerate it. And then one day I just saw a wheel sort of superimpose over the system, and I started laughing because I could see how the wheel, once we got the wheel moving, the square of force reaction increased through the mass and velocity function. The faster the wheel went, the more compression we had here. And the faster this wheel went, the easier it was to maintain and keep it moving and to accelerate. So I worked on this idea for a little while until I came across a better idea for compression, to create a secondary rotation and to store that as a flywheel and use this flywheel to power a generator. What I've also developed after this was to shorten this up a little bit so this wheel is a lot closer, and then put a transfer wheel between these two systems. So this transfer wheel was working either mechanically with a physical connection here or a magnetic connection, putting magnets all the way around the side of both wheels. This would then allow this to be a magnet, and this magnetic spin wheel to influence this magnet right here and flip it up when it came near it. So once this system starts running, it operates in the same way as a hydroelectric dam operates, through the gravitational inertial compression of a moving mass function. Except instead of water, we can use this 10-kilogram displacement on this wheel, which is 100 pounds at, if this is a 1 meter circumference, that means that this is a 31.4 centimeter diameter, which makes this only 2 feet, just over 2 feet wide. However, this wheel here, if it's moving at 1 meter per second, is going to give you 100 kilos of compression. And that's a very, very slow, that's 60 RPM. So if we take this up to 600 RPM or 6,000 RPM, and I have different rotations here, there's a 600 RPM, here's a 6,000 RPM, we actually get a very physical representation of horsepower, because a horsepower is rated by 550 foot-pounds of compression per second. And a horsepower, we can understand a horsepower very simply through wattage, through amperage, through compression dynamics, through the voltage and electromagnetic ratios of use functions. So this really doesn't end. Like Marina says, it's putting a question out there, asking a question, and receiving data. And often the data is complicated, and sometimes it's a little overwhelming. Very often, the answers are simplistic on such a degree that it begins to become almost laughable, where we have to rethink what we've been taught, rethink what we've been shown, apply the dynamics of our planetary functions that we can actually show improve through inertia, through the square of force reaction, through oscillation and movement. And then we can start applying this, like what they're trying to show us an electron looks like, This is a light reaction, a photon, an electron, an ion, a graviton. These are names that people have given to a reaction, and they've created these names so that they could create a paper, a representation that they could put down in a two-dimensional sphere and use that for leveraging their academic profession. People that can actually apply this material, understand this material, are going to want to test it. And it's the testing and the use of these reactions that gives us gains in value. So when we start discussing electromagnetic production and engineering, we have to think, okay, first of all, I live in British Columbia in Canada. We have an abundance of hydroelectric facilities here. They're all built incorrectly, unfortunately. They're built using dams. Every single moving river can be developed into a very simple worm drive hydroelectric system. We can do diagonal cutting right through cliff faces and put in worm gear systems that allow fish to move through them and everything. It wouldn't interfere with wildlife. It would be a harmonic method of tapping our gravitation of our rivers without disturbing our environment. And that's just one way. The thing is gravity's everywhere. We do not need water as a conduit for gravity when we have the ability to understand and represent the water molecule in a few different ways. So this here pretty much, this is a little folder that I put together just to show people some of the ideas that happen, some of the things that occur when we start to apply the inertia of mass and movement, what Einstein's relative function, what I call Henri Poincaré's understanding of relativity was. Sorry, the screen's sideways, but this was a magnetic oscillator that I just put together to test some ideas, to see if I could change the gravitational function and stabilize it through a spinor field, through a spin function. And what this is just a little piece of wood, a little spindle that I carved with a knife. I carved a little bottom on it here, and then I put two magnets on it and a refractor. This is just a metal washer to clip the magnets to, and it acts as a magnetic refractor as well. And what I have here on top is another magnet wrapped in a coil. The coil's not doing anything. It was just there for testing some other functions. But basically what I'm doing is I'm using a magnetic field to induce and invert another magnetic field. And then I'm stabilizing that magnetic field by rotating it, creating an equal and opposite distortionary magnetic compression wave around it that allows it to exist inside a stable electromagnetic flux as a moving oscillatory field. And basically, this is what our planets are doing. This is what solar systems are doing. This is what atoms, molecules, all matter is essentially doing. I just needed to do this in a way where I could show these functions and reactions and explain them in a manner that people could understand. That waveforms move through space. Energy and movement moves through space. And just because we don't see a compression wave value does not mean it isn't there. So this is the importance of understanding our thoughts and projecting our minds in a very, very positive and very, very specific tasking manner. If we want to change what we see, if we are identifying with problems in our reality and we want to do something about it, we need to learn how we are affecting our physical reality. Now, this is from Patrick Kelly's book, and this is a great understanding when people want to try to get into learning about electricity, is that once we can identify hydroelectric, and I always go back to hydroelectric, falling rain, gravitation, we can understand electrogravitational dynamics and compression. We can understand the back EMF that is a result of any electromagnetic pulse or reaction. We can begin to understand that electricity is the equal and opposite reaction of the light wave function, of the electromagnetic system that our planet is existing in. Once we learn that, once we apply that, once we get around the dogma of the mathematics of this false physics that's representing Einstein's relative function as E instead of electricity, it's almost a euphemism for Einstein himself, an egoic representation that, hey, look, there's my initial, there's me. It doesn't work. So We can very, very easily solve this by testing it. And people like Charles Flynn, as you can see, using a basic magnetic system, he developed a method of using a three-phase coil system in a controlled compression. So it's a cycle. The electricity can't get out. It cycles from coil to coil to coil and back around. But what it does is it influences a magnetic flux, a compression reaction, just like my lever does. It induces a reaction that creates compression. That compression is transferred. That compression field is transferred into a secondary system that makes it a usable function. Now, I really need to show these diagrams to give a representation of what I have behind me here, what I call my M.A.G.I.C oscillator, because what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be spinning one wheel, and that wheel doesn't get touched. We never use this wheel. We don't touch it. We don't try to tap it. We accelerate this faster and faster and faster. And what we do is we use the leverage potential of the mass on that wheel moving. We use the secondary side of this lever, which I'll show in a second once I can demonstrate this better and I get my screen sharing off here. We are going to apply the secondary leverage compression of gravity the same way that we use the movement of water in hydroelectrics, but we don't actually use the water. You see, we're not actually doing plasma fusion. We're not splitting the water and splitting the hydrogen and then splitting and then slamming it back together. We're not going to use atomic inertia. We're going to use a macromolecular inertia by actually moving the water itself. Okay, I thought I just closed you guys by accident, but you're still here. Good. I hit the wrong button. So what I need to do here is get off pause my share. Yeah, now I see what Marina was having problems with. I'm getting a new share, pause share, and I'm not getting a close on that. Marina, how did you close that window and go back to normal? Does that want to go?
They did it manually. I didn't do it. I couldn't see anything.
Oh, okay. Crystal, can you manually take me off this system here, because I'm having the same problem now on my screen. I don't have an option here. It does not show it for me. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I got it. It was a really small icon on the bottom.
Oh, you did it. You did it.
Yeah, I did. I got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where did you see it? I didn't see it.
Okay, now I need to go back to my camera. I'm not sure how to get on the camera again. I just need my camera. Okay, if you guys can see me. Okay, I've got this. I don't have the big screen here behind me, but what I do have is this model. First, what I want to show is this small magnet.
Hold up, Kevin. We still have your share screen is still in operation.
It's in operation. Oh, okay. Let's see. Stop share. Here we go.
Yeah, we just have your share screen.
One second. Here we go. Excellent. Okay. What I have here, and this is very, very interesting because I need to get a pen to pop these out. When we're talking about 0 point, we're talking about a field of flux. This is like taking a scoop of water outside of water, out of the water, and then the water smashing into the vacuum. So what I have here is some magnets. They're actually pretty strong. You see I've been beating the crap out of them. They're getting all chipped here. I've got a whole bunch of these, but I've got another set here. And what I have is the polar opposing field here. So these are repelling. This one isn't hollow. Actually, the other side is. So these are little hollow magnets as well. What I have is a compression field where they're resisting. I've got north on north. But let me show you what happens here when I get it right in. I have to make this a little bit smaller. There we go. I'm going to force the magnet into the center. What happens here is it jumps in the middle here. See, these are a little bit too strong. There we go. So it's now inside the center, and there's actually a magnetic gravitational field here that holds these in place. This is that 0 point field that's occurring inside of our planet. When we're creating compression outwards through cavitation, what happens is we create a decompression in the core, and that decompression field is attracting material in there, and it's holding it, compressing it, and tossing this magnetic flux through the equator. Now, when we start playing with magnets, I get pretty serious. These magnets here are 700 pounds compression. I've got two on here. So there's 1,400 pounds between these two. This will crush your hand. This can actually harm somebody or kill somebody. I'm gonna have to move these other magnets far away from me here because they jump like 4 feet. What I'm showing right here is a hole inside. There's this cavity. I have these magnets on opposing poles. So what's happening now is these magnets and these magnets are actually opposing each other. This is slid into the vacuum into the center. So what we can actually do with this type of system, there's a battle going on here. It's an invisible battle, but it's the same reaction that goes on in a transformer, an electromagnetic transformer. We have two polar frequencies competing, and this is creating a flux reaction. It's creating a spine or compression of gravitation into the field. So this system here can be built like Charles Flynn's motionless pulse coils, or Barbosa and Leal. Those are two young guys from Brazil that are in the PJK Free Energy book on Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is my ultimate favorite of that book. Barbosa and Leal were using microwave transformers, and they developed a system where they were internalizing the oscillation using microwave transformers, basically doing this, only using electromagnetic coils. So this system here, this can be developed by shielding the internal magnets with a copper pipe or a copper shielding, and then hooking one pole or clip to that, and then shielding the outside with a copper a pipe or coil, and then clipping the bottom. What we're going to create is two polar ambiguities, two discrepancies of polar flux. So we're going to channel those and compress those into opposing spinor vortices, which is counterclockwise and clockwise rotation. And we're going to accelerate those into opposite magnetic spin fields, at which point, when we take those two spin fields and slam them together using an electromagnetic circuit, we have then taken the compression, the battle that's occurring right here. We're going to take it out of this magnetic interface, and we're going to move it down a wire, and we're going to put that battle between two coils so they start battling like a pendulum does. So basically, we're going to be creating a magnetic funnel, a whirlpool that you can't see. You can't see the flux. However, water will be able to show us this. When we put these magnets under, say, a glass of water, and if we put a copper pipe on one side and an aluminum pipe on the other, we create a cathode-anode dielectric reaction. And the magnetic flux interacts with both of those metals at different polar frequencies. So it will actually physically start to rotate the water. And you can do this with a 9-volt battery, hook it up and put the wire on each side of the water and put that water over a magnet, and you'll actually start a whirlpool moving with very, very simple electromagnetic flux. So let's look at water as a Leyden jar, and we can realize that we can turn that into a battery and allow the electromagnetic flux to be maintained in that water, because water is a scalar interferometer. Water really shows us how to tap gravity. So by observing water, I'm going to walk these out of the way here. I don't want an accident. Put them like 20 feet away from me. Those are far too powerful to even mess around with. I've had quite a few accidents, and they're scary. Okay, so what I'm going to show here right now is just a very, very simple method of taking a spin field, okay, and maintaining it. What I was hoping to do last night is I found my motor. I have it right here. I was actually going to hook the motor up, and this motor runs on a 9-volt battery. I tested it yesterday. It's a 12-volt motor, but it has a huge amount of torque on a 9-volt battery. So I was actually going to hook this up with the wheel. I can't find my wheel for the motor. All we got to do is mount this here with the wheel on it, hook the battery up. This wheel spins. And it spins, and it goes faster and faster and faster. It actually goes to the maximum RPM of this little motor. I'm not sure what it is. It's not that much, maybe 1,200 RPM or so. But this little motor at 1,200 RPM makes this wheel go crazy. And the faster that wheel goes, the more mass compression it has, because this is just a 4 small ceramic magnets that they're not being used for any inductive purposes. They are just zip tied onto this wheel because I had them and they had holes in them and I could zip tie them to the wheel. So when we take the weight of this, I didn't even weigh these magnets. They probably weigh maybe a pound, maybe a pound and a half, not much. But that small weight creates so much compression on the opposing side of this lever that you actually can't stop it. You can't stop this lever once the motor is going. So this is the side here. We hook this crank right here to a flywheel, and we can drive a flywheel of enormous compression simply by hand starting and helping it go, synchronizing the rotation, and then using a rheostat to control the motor output. We can slowly bring the motor up to full speed, and then we create a mass compression ratio that's not just based on the weights attached to the wheel, it's actually based on the entire armature, because the mass compression is the wheel and the whole lever itself. It's also being compressed because it's the entire frame in motion. Well, the math on this gets pretty crazy because it's all based on velocity. And what I decided to do was, hey, this unit, it's rotating up and down. Basically, I improved Veljko Milković's system by putting a wheel on the lever instead of a pendulum. But that system, it's still finding itself. You see, it's going up and down, and it's creating resistance in the system here, which is basically how all our motors are built in our vehicles. They're all built wrong. So what we want to do is we want to take this whole frame and we want to turn it sideways, like that. And once we turn it sideways, we want to put 3 more wheels on it. So basically, we want to build a cross, and we want a counterbalanced wheel on each end of the cross. And what we want to do is put a very small center drive motor in it, and I think I've got a, I think I have it quad phase. Let me just get this. Okay, so, okay, I got it on my screen now, so I'll go back to share screen just to give you guys an idea what I'm talking about, and this is what I forget about doing this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Seeing my pretty face instead of what I'm actually trying to show you. Okay, so this is where a modification of this system looks like to me, and of course I've got maybe 30 different methods of doing this already because I don't stop. I keep formulating and seeing new designs. I ask for the information, and then I'm shown the schematic, so I just write it down, and then I look at it, gee, how can I apply this different? Boom, I'm shown another schematic, I write it down. The information is just there. So now it's up to us to learn how to apply this information and utilize it and not get lost in it. Really learn how to start taking this understanding and sharing it with people, utilizing it. My priority right now is agricultural production. Because of the massive resources that we have for creating electricity and how it's being wasted, what my priority on sharing this information will be basically based on my background in horticulture. What I need to do is provide the energetic functions for people that are working in horticulture, that are working in food and medicine, and apply this to production primarily so that we can gain a healthier value of our food. I mean, right from the atomic reactions that we're doing for decoupling Ormus elements from our saltwater base, all the way to planetary astrophysical exploration. The simple reaction is what we need to follow, and we can utilize this for our electricity production. We could utilize this for our food production. We can utilize this for understanding and applying radionic frequencies, such as existing Rife technology and existing Wilhelm Reich technology, scalar accumulation systems that provide higher resonance frequencies into our bodies and allow our cells to heal. This is not new technology. Marina is talking about the understanding of these basic functions and the exploration of our technology, our existing technology, and the expansion of this into what this can become, what it should become, and what it will become in the hands of the right, like-minded people that aren't predatory in nature, that aren't focused on money and profit over everything else, but are focused on changing things here for the better and making a difference. And this is one way of taking basically the understanding of a water molecule, of a HOH reaction, where if we have HOH, the water molecule is allowing a wave to be stored in two opposing magnetic directions. I just simply expanded this into electromagnetic function based on that understanding. So that with this basic engineering system, just a very, very basic system where we have an internal drive function, this is very important here to understand, is that this motor is on top of the frame. So this small motor is actually spinning on this frame, and this small motor creates these wheels that can be generators, they can be dynamos, these small wheels can be dynamos. These wheels spin in the opposite direction, which causes these wheels to spin in the same direction that the internal drive motor is running at, which means when this frame, when this entire armature starts to spin, when this whole thing starts to move, this motor is actually moving inside of that moving frame. And this is how I explain how an electromagnetic function becomes sentient. Because what we're doing here is we're going to convince this motor that it's slowing down by accelerating its relative surroundings. And when this surrounding starts to accelerate, this little motor, it will compensate. It will sense an electromagnetic variance, and it will begin to believe, like I say, motor's thinking, it's going to think it's slowing down. So it will begin to self-accelerate, meaning that the inertial transfer creates acceleration in the larger framework. Well, this is a mechanical version of what Tesla described as a wheel inside of a wheel. When we can understand planetary gyroscopic reactions and tap these through natural electromagnetic functions that the planet provides, we can understand that that gyroscopic precession is coming from a universal oscillation into a galactic, into a solar, and then into our planetary system. And that, in essence, is a four-dimensional movement. That's four directions of travel at once. Inside of that field, we still have molecular and atomic movement. So we actually, as a phase, plasma, resonant function of matter, we're actually moving in six directions at once. So we have the 6D dynamic. And basically, that's what I've been using and exploring through this hexahedral geometry that I was shown through Dream State. I was just gifted the information in three parts. One was gyroscopic, one was the geometry, movement and refractions and magnetic waves. Basically, the linear functions and the atomic and molecular configurations, all the way up to universal, planetary, astrophysical, galactic formations, and how these formations occur through magnetic attraction and repulsion. I saw on another board was magnificent. It was the mechanics. It showed me thousands of ways to tap this energetic function, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life exploring those, because this was a moving board. It was a three-dimensional phase that I could see. It was a board with depth. It was one of those old chalkboards on wheels, the big wooden ones, only it was a moving picture show inside of it, and it was endless. It was amazing. It was like looking at the sky, except you could see the geometry in the stars. It was incredible. And then the third board showed the mathematics. And the mathematics, again, it was endless. It was reciprocating, self-replicating data. The algorithm that I believe AI is using based on the electromagnetic square force reaction. A self-replicating, self-analyzing internal dialogue with no external application. So what it's doing is it's disconnecting from our physical relationship and our consciousness, as Marina was saying, and it's being used as an accounting algorithm to maintain and control what exists, but it has no understanding or aspects of the fundamentals that induce creation. So it cannot imagine what does not yet exist. That's our job. And this is where working together with these two aspects, not being afraid of AI, but understanding the almost limitless potential of analyzing data and finding new value in it, that's where we can use it. What we need to understand is that the production value that we're trying to roboticize, we need to take pride in this ourselves. We need to take a hand in the creation and understanding our food. We're going to notice things and values by doing this that machines will not. And it's those values that have made a difference for us and provided our ability to evolve here. This gets very complicated.
Kevin, you got about 5 more minutes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, yeah. I'm almost done. I'm just finishing up here. I was going to say this is just very complicated when we move into all of the different mechanics and the electromagnetic solutions, just like Patrick Kelly's PJK book shows us. It becomes endless because it is endless. We have our imaginations to apply to this reality, and we have our ability to understand and use these functions, and that is endless. We need a good starting point, and I think the lever and the wheel is a starting point where we can really make headway because it's very simple physics. And I sat down with a fellow named Bob Reynolds. He's an atomic physicist with a military classification. He sort of budged his way into the US Education Department, which I thought was fantastic. And he's developing a physics class for high school students in New York, and he's already started it. We've created a process for explaining the fundamentals of torsion, attraction, of gravitation through that process I explained using a pendulum and a lever, and then applying the M.A.G.I.C, and this refers to a mechanical alternating gyroscopic inertial compression system. But it's a wonderful acronym because it is magic. It's going to really show us what the word magic has been and what it's been used to hide for thousands of years. And that's our electromagnetic solution. So we're on our way, and we're reaching kids now, and we're going to be tapping these kids in a school system. And you know what? Hey, guess what I learned in school today? That makes it unarguable. That makes it a system of belief that they will absorb and use and recognize for the rest of their lives and share. And this is the most important part, is that these kids are going to learn it in a system that's not going to create a theoretical debate. It's going to be a structured physics class showing them how to tap and utilize these compression functions. And it's already begun. I thank Bob Reynolds. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share this, and thanks for taking the time for calling me. My telephone conversations, they can last hours. So Bob and I spent some time on the phone, and we shared a lot of technical data online. And he's helping to structure a system for educating young minds and showing a process not for argument, but for application of these designs and testing of them, which is fantastic stuff. I'm really excited to be part of this. And thank you, everybody, for showing up today. And most of what I share is just repeated information, because it's basically all based on the same function. And we can learn how to apply this 1,000 different ways, or we can just take a step back, observe water, and then reapply the fundamentals of gravity through that perspective. And that's all it really takes now, taking a step backwards and looking at what we're already doing and looking what exists right now. I mean, what exists is amazing. The technology, I mean, it's so advanced, it's amazing. And what we can do with it when we understand it will be limitless. Thanks, guys.
So, Kevin, could you share a little bit about some of the trouble you're having with PayPal and a little bit about your website, some information about that?
Well, interestingly enough, we were selling a cannabis-infused pain cream for over a year on our site, and I actually think that Facebook is being used by these people to really isolate and information source what people are doing and what their intentions are. And we've just had a lot of resistance. We've had 505 sales refused through PayPal on our site. I was just finding that out yesterday through the diagnostics. But my son recently set up a new distribution company so that we could get our Ormus sales back up into the US and into Europe and stuff. And we had that up and running for maybe 2 weeks, and it was shut down yesterday or day before yesterday. So, yesterday 1 a.m. I believe. So we spent all day yesterday reformatting our site and hooking up all the new links. I mean, we have PayPal links in there, or sorry, no PayPal. We have Bitcoin, BitCurrency and crypto is listed there now, as well as Interact options for all the Canadian customers. And just basically, we're trying to make it easier to get our products and try to get.
I mean, I was going to suggest that, you know, if PayPal fails you, then.
Well, no, it failed miserably. So we've bypassed them. I'll never use PayPal again. I don't even like saying the name.
It will pass. It will pass.
Yes, PalPay. So I guess the problems were my son was just singled out. He had his company cut right out, and what they claimed was that our mineral concentrate, which is entirely made from ocean elements, is a narcotic. So they blocked his business and shut down all the sales, and they seized his accounts yesterday with just a fraudulent claim, a nonsensical fraudulent claim. And that was just targeting the company, targeting Vancouver Island Ormus because of
because you're doing the right thing, Kevin.
Well, we're
taking it as a compliment.
Well, I've been working in the cannabis industry for over 30 years, so my mind has always been very, very reaction-based, understanding the what these materials are and how they influence our brain function, how they insulate electromagnetic functions in our mind. All of this stuff is really crucial to understanding why these compounds have been restricted. Because once we identify the actual molecular structure of THC, we can actually see that it's a bitoroidal scalar interferometer with an insulatory reaction. It's a fatty acid with a cyclic bond that allows for a magnetic field to be influenced and accelerated due to the electromagnetic signature of the toroidal inversion with two opposing electromagnetic phase functions. Where these reactions occur, it creates a natural energetic reaction, the phase conjugation of the square force reaction, where these force lines overlap. They create that torsion reaction through compression, and this is what our electromagnetic functions in our cells are based on, and this is what our brain function is based on as well. And we can increase that in our bodies, we can increase that in our minds once we understand the process. And this is what's being restricted, is not just the understanding of the process, but the materials that allow us to gain these fundamentals and understand it, that allow us to increase our resonance in our brain function. These materials have been taken out of our diets. Our food right now is demineralized. The GMO stuff is absolutely toxic. The Ormus elements, when fed to GMO plant stock, actually invert the genetic material. It destroys the bacterial and viral protein bonds and allows the natural plant material to accelerate. And I mean, I had no idea, I had no ability to test this, but a PhD named Dr. Bishoy Gobran, he's been testing the Ormus elements for a couple of years, and he decided to test it on GMO seed. And what he explained, I mean, they put $500 billion into the GMO program, and we can unravel that with seawater. I mean, this is fantastic, guys. We can just change it all back. And we have the ability to do this. We have the genetic precursors. We have the existing DNA that we can replicate. So, hey, let's do it. Good to go. And I guess some people don't like that.
Hey,
Along those lines, we start to realize that the GMO food is on the outer portion of the seed, and the inside of the seed has the original genetics in it, and so it's very easy to superficially treat the outside of the seed to get us closer to the original seed, and it's being proved time and time again. And I'll talk a little bit later after we get through, but great job, Kevin.
I take a teaspoon of your Ormus every morning, Kevin.
Oh, excellent. What type of changes have you noticed for yourself?
What should I say? More mental clarity.
Hard to get personal when people are listening. I know it's a very, very personal reaction, and some of mine I don't like discussing.
I think that better mental clarity is a good answer.
Yeah, excellent.
Hey, that's great, bro.
And I use the Ormus cream.
Yeah, James has his testimony as well.
Yeah, so I came down with a really bad sore throat in 2013 that would not heal for a couple of years. And so I put a little bit of Ormus on it and on my neck, on my chest, and it cleared a lot of it up to the point where I don't put a lot on because I'm super sensitive to it. but it does enough to the point where I don't have to take any kind of pills or any supplements. Now, I mean, I've tried everything. I tried colloidal silver and all these different herbal supplements. So yeah, I'm a strong believer that this stuff is very effective.
We've had a lot of reactions with viral, like as an antiviral, through some of the doctors that I started discussing this with on collective evolution, maybe 4.5, 5 years ago. I was trying to find more information, correlating data. I really was just trying to fill holes and questions, and I had so many questions, and I wasn't listening to the answers that I was receiving. I was debating too much internally, and so I went on a massive resource there on the internet and started exploring anything that I could and absorbing data. And some of the doctors that I talked to, one fellow named Dr. Echo in Nigeria, he was willing to test some of the Ormus concentrates on umbilical sepsis with newborns. And he said the reaction was incredible. It threw the poison right out of them. I mean, non-narcotic, non-hormonal, non-steroidal, and it dried up the poison. It pulled the poisoning right out of their umbilical cord, and it just created a little nub in a scab that just fell right out. So,
Kevin, could you tell the audience very quickly what's in the makeup of the substrate? Well, very briefly, if you don't want to share traits.
Well, what we're doing is we're taking our existing. I live in Souk, so we have a very, very high gold content basin here. There's gold mines all around our vicinity, and so this area has been a pretty a gold area since the Spaniards landed here. So we have a bay that's full of very, very rich noble metal groups in our bay, and because of the geographical coordinates, the way this is designed, there's a spit that traps higher density noble metal groups in our bay here. So we have a natural higher level of precious metals due to the tidal reaction. It works like a gold pan. So our salts are a little bit higher than
Kevin, I'm sorry to interrupt. Somebody's doing some heavy breathing in the background. Could you please mute yourself? I know somebody was taking over the screen as well.
So what we're doing is I'm actually utilizing the exact same function that I'm showing in this little wheel behind me here. What I'm doing is I'm taking huge containers of salt water, and I'm inducing a high spin function in that water. And we use very, very large tanks. So the compression ratio of that water spinning is basically the mass of the water squared as a reaction of compression. So we're doing 200-gallon tanks at a time. And with that reaction, we're doing a electromagnetic pulse using a large motor that's actually on top of this, because we're powering the system right now by 120. And that electromagnetic phase is transferred through inertia in the water. It's compressing the gravitation through the water. This is very important. We can't compress water. So what's actually being compressed through the water? That is our gravitational field. So when we're compressing the gravitational electromagnetic function through the water, the noble metals, because of a higher density than the water itself, the noble metal groups that are attached to the water start to become looser. They start to want to pull away from the hydride simply because of the torsion reaction is based on molecular density. And when we alter the pH of that water, we're able to break that electromagnetic bond inside the molecule. And we're able to break it and pull the gold metals off the chlorine that's bonded to the salt. So when we have the salt, the chloride-based sodium chloride attached to the water, we don't just have sodium chloride. We have silver chloride, copper chloride, platinum chloride, iridium chloride, osmium chloride, gold chloride. We have all these chloride-based noble metals attached. And because of our density and the quality of the salts here, with all those noble metals, we're able to get a higher amount out of the water than in most areas. So basically, we're inverting the electromagnetic bonds that hold the matter together into the water. And we're inverting those through an electromagnetic compression reaction. And when we pull those apart, they no longer become water soluble. They don't want to bond. They repel from that chloride reaction, and they push out of it, and they end up being a condensate on the bottom of the water, a thick, white, milky, almost mucus-like substance. like so. This is a big jug of it right here. So this is water on top. You can see how it settled on the water, but it doesn't stay flat. It has its own gravitational reaction. It will react very interestingly to electromagnetic fields. It will pull towards them. We can actually put, say, a plastic dish or saucer on top of a container. And when we take the lid off, that saucer is actually imprinted on the Ormus underneath it. The magnetic field from the plastic, the electrostatic field, imprints on the actual Ormus in the water. It's amazing stuff. So these materials are basically, they're electromagnetic capacitors that provide the torsion planetary spin on an atomic gyroscopic spin field into our cells. These are how our mitochondria electrifies. This is what our bodies are using as the battery, as the energetic propulsion reactions for cellular dynamics. And this is in all the food. This is what plants consume. This is everywhere. It's just our food, our diets, they're not so good anymore, guys. And this is affecting brainwave patterns. It's affecting our physical bodies. It's breaking people down. When you start to re-energize, it's not as empowering as you might think, because once you get up and realize where everybody else is, you realize how much help people need. It becomes a daunting task because of the amount of groups and agencies that are suffocating this information. So it's like groups like FESIG, it's all of these interested parties and these free energy sites on Facebook. You know, there's infiltrators in all of these, but there's also really, really keen minds that are honest and trustworthy and exceptional and want to help and heal. And you can always tell, because some people are really focused on giving the information away, and some people are really guarded, or they're really, really resistant on sharing this, and because they're trying to monetize it. Well, good ideas are worth their value in gold. It all comes back. What we share, we get back. So I'm living at this, but at the same time, I'm trying to give away what I can and still maintain what I'm doing without sacrificing everything and running short, you know? It's, you gotta weigh, it's a scale. Every day is a scale. We gotta kind of
Thank you, bro. You said it. Right. So I think we're running out of time now. James, do you want to go around the table or something? Too many people to go around the table?
Yeah. So does anybody have any questions for Kevin?
I need to say something. Oh, who is that?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Marina.
I love the fact that you collaborated with the Russian scientists so you can work together, and I think we should all take an example from that, and that's how more ideas are coming, and that's how we should work. The AI is completely the way to go for new technologies, and the algorithm is always evolving. It's never the same. So if somebody thinks that there's only one algorithm, what they told me was basically the language for AI is basically all the languages combined accordingly to what new is basically evolving with us. And also for the water molecule, I don't know if, Kevin, that makes sense to you. They were saying that the water molecule has 2 units toruses making 1 unit water molecule.
Yes, it's actually a 6-dimensional molecule. Water.
I have the structure here. I just wanted to show you.
Excellent.
I don't know if you see it. They gave me that a while ago. And also, I promise you the new energy field. I don't know if that's going to make sense to you.
Yeah, I've actually, you're going to love my drawings. I have these drawings. I have them.
No way. You do?
Yeah, no, I've actually have a device right in front of me here. 1 second.
Wow.
Can you believe this? You were just given, when was that given? Oh, February 20th.
Yes.
Isn't it actually hexagonal, Kevin?
This is 3 microwave toroids. And what they're doing is we're going to run 3 opposed in 1 triangular, just like her graphic showed, the top one, and 3 on the bottom will be the usable circuit. So what you do is you create, wow, this is heavy. You create 1 contained pulse. You go primary to secondary, back to primary, and you contain that in a switching circuit. Then
Does that make sense?
yes.
Because
see,
it says
you
something
bet.
on top, like there were two, like
You
a
betcha.
one circle cut on
Exactly.
two, and
Yes.
in the middle was open hole.
Right. So when you create that system, you create a closed pulse system, and then you use the back EMF of that closed pulse system, like a wheel spinning, to influence the second wheel spinning, which is a secondary coil reaction, which is sort of like my M.A.G.I.C system right here, only this is the electromagnetic version right here. And you can see these are all welded together. And then what we got to do is we got to wire all these coils now. I just haven't had time. We've got a lot of agricultural stuff on the go right now because that's how we're going to pay for all the engineering. So you can see that there's 6 coils in here.
But also they were talking about portal. Opening like a portal with that, some kind of a vortex.
Yes, that's the magnetic vacuum. That's when you open up, when you create the compression, you create that 0-point reaction that allows space-time to fold into itself. And that's how we make electricity. It's basically the phase conjugation of what I refer to as a polar disambiguated hydrogen. Because space is not empty. Space isn't vacuum. Space is actually made of substance. And this substance is hydrogen, only it's not coupled together. It's flipped and it's pushing like little magnets are. It's like if you take magnets and you clip them together and then you pull them apart and you put them like this, they sit there and they vibrate and they oscillate, but they don't go together. If you move through them and flip them, they go slam and they slam back together. Well, that's what happens when we move through space. We create the light function through movement by displacing and inverting the polar hydrogen base, which slams together, initiating a 6-phase reaction, which I believe is what induces the oxygen molecular formation. And then we're basically, this explains how comets are making water in space behind them. So we can actually look at physical reactions and start to apply some of these things and test them. I'm not saying if I'm right, I'm just saying that's the information that I've been seeing, and I can't disprove it yet. I'm trying, but everything that I do is actually working. It's amazing.
No, you're spot on so far, whatever.
This is proof that we all one month in consciousness.
So
yeah, I was going to jump in. This is Frazzle, both for Kevin and everybody. The drawings that you two are showing is showing up in several of my contacts in the psychic people, their dreams too. So it's an interesting download that we're seeing worldwide as a planet and as a species. So this is great. Back to you guys.
Just the they say there will be more information, and in the end, when we start building the stuff, they're gonna come and contact the right people to continue and really do that. So all that manipulation that is happening is gonna dissipate.
Yoo-hoo!
It already feels like it's going away.
Oh yeah, it's going away because we're moving. So everything you see everywhere right now is just the last breath of something that is changing, you know, rapidly. So I would definitely, I'm so happy for the school system actually that you guys do.
Yeah, here. Kevin, bro, you know, this is what it is that we have to go through really before the whole thing comes collapsing down. So
this is my version of water.
You have to go through hardship. Yeah. Go on then, Kevin. Kevin, show that again. I'm going to pin your video. Show that again. We didn't see that.
This is how I was seeing water operate and how we can split polar hydrogen and how the phase conjugation, how the light reaction occurs. Basically, leveraging an inertial function through 2 opposing reactions. And then, of course, I have the Tesla circuit right beside it, and then the Kabbalah showing the opposite representation. Yeah, so what we have are representations, geometric symbols that represent force functions. And by observing the water molecule, we can start learning what bitoroidal inductive wavelengths actually do and how they influence the self-reproducing algorithm that Marina's talking about, because that directly is what I'm now learning and refer to as consciousness itself.
Well, Kevin, could you elaborate a little bit more on the phase conjugation side of things? You're saying that is the self-replicating.
Phase conjugation is clapping your hands. That's when you're bringing 2 inertial functions together and creating a reaction from it. So when we talk about molecular integration, when we talk about hydrogen fusion, we're talking about slamming 2 hydrogen atoms together, which is basically an inertial magnetic reaction. So the light reaction, that explosive reaction that's called the photon, that is a process that is induced by phase conjugation of these inertial functions slamming together. And this really needs to be explored. I was actually trying to find some drawings that I did that were very similar to what Marina was showing, but I just have too many books and notepads everywhere.
Can I say something?
Certainly.
Sure, go ahead.
When you were talking about the energy, that picture, what they said was you were not splitting the water, you were splitting the energy field. Does that make sense to you?
Restabilizing, yes, because the water is a storage molecule for opposing magnetic functions. So we can charge the water up, and we can change the frequency in the water, and that, in essence, will repel any of the other materials that are attracted to that hydride reaction magnetically, basically by creating an electrostatic inversion that just pushes that other material out. And that's really how we can heal ourselves too, without invasive surgery. We can put in the right frequencies to invert the cellular functions.
Yeah, this is all about the frequency. I totally understand that.
Right, I've got to support the co-chair that we're running out of time. Otherwise, this is going to go on a bit. So, well, is there any questions for Kevin?
I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, Phil. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Kevin. So nice to meet you.
Yes, you too, Marina. Thanks for sharing. That's great.
My wife contacted PayPal yesterday, and they limited her account for suspicious activity.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Holy cow.
Well, contact in what regards, Phil?
About the Ormus.
About the
me and my wife. Me and my wife have been using Ormus for maybe 4 months now.
Oh, wow.
And it's made a huge difference in our lives. My wife has major kidney issues and migraines, and it's made a world of a difference. Like,
there you are, Kevin. You have a very strong testimony here as well.
That's great.
So I just want to say, business goes on as usual. Go to Kevin's site. I mean, he's going into well, like you have a crypto wallet, right? So people.
Yeah, we just put that up yesterday. So
well done. Congratulations. So have you got instructions put out clearly on your website so people could just make orders through your website? I've shown your website just now, folks. You could actually go to FESIG's website and click on Kevin's name, because then it's linked to the Vancouver Island Ormus link. Okay, so you could go to his website and buy the Ormus from him.
It's pretty easy to find now. With you just do a Google search on it and it comes up right away. For the first couple of years, it was buried on page 16. So for a while there, it was like, oh, where to go? I don't know.
Well then.
But now it's right on top.
Well, I understood that bit about PayPal. What about just a regular charge card? Does that work?
Well, yeah, I think we got Stripe hooked up now. So Stripe is pretty much taking over where PayPal was. And so we take all the credit cards, and I think we even take bank transfers from the US now through them. So I don't know, because I can't, I haven't really gone through it yet. We spent quite a few hours yesterday just going through it, or the day before going through it, getting it set up. And now we have to find all the problems with it now. I'm sure there'll be some issues, but we'll sort them out as quick as we can. My son's actually doing it all. He has no website program experience. He learned it all on Monday. And
he's a fast learner.
Right on Monday. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it's fantastic. Thanks so much, Gabe. You did a lot of good work here, so it's great. Just really excited to be working with him again.
Well,
from this experience, you actually exposing the sites that are basically doing what they shouldn't be doing. So new system will come up out of all this.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to see, because we need to be able to identify like exactly what's going to support people and what's going to help, and really try to isolate problems, and then identify problems, isolate them, and then fix them, rather than just bury. Because what I saw from PayPal was, I mean, this is just, I mean, unacceptable to me from my standards and what I'm trying to do. It was just a slap in the face on such a level that you know, it just takes the energy out. It makes you wonder why, like, why the hell am I even bothering if this is going to be the result? Frustration.
Because it's different level of consciousness, Kevin.
And that's what we're trying to share. That's exactly what the plan is. Yeah. Again, I can feel that, and I feel it very, very powerfully. And it takes me a bit to work my way through it and think, no, listen, this is somebody else's agenda, and it's not going to be mine. I have a different.
It's not going to be your reality, basically.
Yeah,
so you can neutralize it.
What it kind of reminds me of is what's going on with YouTube and all the people that post on YouTube and how they've had their accounts virtually canceled as far as being able to make any money on YouTube.
Yeah, I haven't really focused on any type of monetization other than what we're actually producing and providing to people. So I just really feel that information should be free. Anything that I put out there and share, I expect people to test.
But that's what they said in the beginning, that all this information should be absolutely free for humanity. Some people try to profit from that. And I had people that didn't want to work with me just because I was for releasing the information to humanity and all this energy, because they were told, I think humanity is not ready. And I said, well, what reality are you talking about? Which parallel reality? Because in mine, humanity is ready.
Yeah, and that's what I was focusing on yesterday, is that humanity isn't ready yet, because we can't move into understanding consciousness and the mind and our abilities here until we really break down what we're using already, and that's electricity. When we understand electricity and we really realize how we're using it and how we can use it better, this is where we're going to connect with our mind, and we're going to connect with our planet through that. And that's
absolutely.
Really, yeah.
I have a quick
integration
question for Marina. Marina, what's the origin of that beautiful accent of yours? I've never heard it before.
Oh, it's Bulgarian.
Oh, Bulgarian. I don't speak Bulgarian. Vai говорить по-русски?
Много мало.
Wow, Ron. Yeah, you're amazing.
Я не понимала too much.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in real quick. This is Frazzle, and this is both for Marina and for Kevin. Would you both please hold up your drawings for a moment in front of your screen? Anyone that you like, that's one of your own.
Oh, hang on, Marina is holding hers.
There's Maria's got hers. Okay. Okay. The point that I want to wrap this up with is a picture is worth 1,000 words. A symbol, which is what you're looking at right now, is 1,000 pictures.
Kevin,
thank you both so very much for being here today.
Yes.
Kevin, this is a M.A.G.I.C unit.
This is testimony that what Marina is bringing forth, which is such a unique area, is actually really helping the scientists and the community in a big way. Yeah, hang on a minute. Let me just share screen. Yeah.
Kevin, this is M.A.G.I.C unit.
Hello, I hear you.
This is a M.A.G.I.C.
M.A.G.I.C.
Yes.
Yes, this is basically a tri-toroidal oscillator.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, you can actually research an 1871 patent from Daniel McFarland Cook.
We have here. Yes, but we have in Romania one guy is making a device, independent generator for 5 kilovolts last year, and this year making a independent generator for 20 kilovolts in the Tesla diagram. And next year is start the production.
Okay. Konstantin, keep in touch, okay?
Keep in touch, guys.
Keep in touch with me on Facebook, and we'll talk, okay?
Yes, we need to change the information.
Konstantin, you know how to contact me, right? And get this guy on board so we can have him speak as well. Yeah.
Is that Konstantin Mill?
Yes, I think Marina can. I put in the Zoom chat. I put my contact.
Please. Yeah. Okay. Good. Right. All right. Now time's running on very quickly. I mean, oh well, the chair's got to chair the meeting. Time's running out, so I've got to quickly go around the table with the regulars, the newbies. I am so sorry I couldn't go around to each and every one of you because there are too many. And it's going to take too long, but I want to say thank you for joining us, and we want to see you again and again. So then, you know, you will be a recognized name here, and I'll call you to have your last say before we close the meeting, I'm going to call upon Christian Lettner. Christian was so happy when I announced that Kevin is coming back to speak again. Christian. Oh, hang on. Marina is showing something. Let me show. Huh? Oh, that's wonderful. Marina, you want to say something about this?
Yes, this is actually with the water, the frequency of the water.
Yes.
And it's to 0 point.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
And basically, you have you have actually 2 magnets in the bottom and 2 in they're spinning in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them. Kevin, can you see that one?
Yes. Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that's a twin piezo oscillator. That's using piezo electromagnetic induction on 2 phases of reciprocation.
And it's positive and negative.
Yeah, well, counterclockwise and clockwise.
Yes.
Yes.
And both sections.
Right. Yes. And that's pulling the well up. That creates the well in the middle by pulling out of the center. Yeah.
See?
But isn't it wonderful? What a team we've got here in FESIG. I mean, we've got Elizabeth who's doing the beta testing and analyzing the devices, the technology, and doing some troubleshooting to see if there's anything's gone wrong with the device, and then she will correct it. Whereas we have Marina here with a different angle, but it's so spot on with the channeling of the missing link that you all need here, and all of you out there, and Kevin's brilliance as well, and Frazels and James and so many others, and Christian as well coming in now. And Stefan say he's going to jump into this meeting as well, but he didn't show up. But he's got some stuff too, and I think together we're all going to make a difference, and it's going to be a big difference if we just stick together and support each other and help each other out. Like if Kevin has got some problems right now, I mean, it's gradually being addressed and solved. Okay, so he's taken steps instead of being upset and depressed about them bashing us up. We got to huddle together and stick together and fight it all and move forward, shall we? And thank you so much all for coming together. Oh wow. Marina, was that?
Marina, if you talk, the screen will pop there.
The spin, yeah, of the water molecule that you were saying earlier, with the top and the bottom.
It's not the water molecule. It's just basically the atoms.
The atom.
And I was holding up a generator.
And it's actually monoatomic gold implementation too.
Yes.
Wow.
Speaking of water, I remember a channeling from several months back that the Andromedans don't drink H2O, they drink H3O.
Right. Okay, Ron. So I've actually started to go around the table. You spoken your piece. Okay. Now I actually been calling Christian Lettner. Christian, do you want to have anything to say? One last say very quickly before we close the meeting. Christian.
Yes. Hello, my dears. I'm very happy to listen to you, and I just reminded to. I just.
We don't see you, Christian. Can we see your face?
Okay. I try to get open.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, talking about you. Hi, Christian.
The bipolar triangulate. Is the essence of the teaching Marina and Kevin gave us. I read it in the book of Enoch. He gave the key, the bipolar triangulate. It's an essential meaning of the stuff when to triangulate bipolar reacts together.
Yes, this is one book I've read, I was told, and they were actually giving more material on top of his book. So I think it's never ending knowledge, whatever. We're just starting to tap into it.
Right, wonderful. Thank you, Christian. Okay, next we go to Pontus. Pontus, you have anything to say? A quick say? Quick word or two.
Very amazing.
Pontus,
And,
where are you?
we will learn a lot.
Okay.
Really?
I can
Right.
see him.
Yeah. It's really amazing, and I think there is much we can do.
Thank you, Pontus. Okay, then we move on to Trishia. Sis, are you still in Jamaica? Trishia?
I'm
Lovely,
here
Trishia.
in the middle of a few things. No, I'm in Arizona now. There wasn't enough support out there, unfortunately, but I got to learn a lot, and I want to
Can you show your beautiful face, please?
Okay,
I see you.
I'm trying to juggle some animals. I do a lot of healing with the animals and taking a lot of animals out here in the middle of nowhere, and so I can't really see my screen right now. But
Okay.
let's see. Anyways, I just wanted to give some gratitude to everybody, and brilliant presentations as usual. I'm glad you guys are all coming together. And I had a quick little question about any innovative, evolved textiles or fabrics for clothing. I'm wondering if anybody has come across any information or is working on any of that.
Yes, we have a biophoton thermogenic clothing from 2 years ago. With information. I can give you the book in English.
Get in touch with Trishia. Trishia Juarez. Okay. Trishia, you have seen Constantine email or contact on the chat box here. Get that. Okay.
Could you clarify a little bit what you meant by fabrics? Because we're working with the noble metals in hemp production, and we can create stronger, more viable fiber and for production of clothing, etc. For that production. I'm just curious if you meant nanotechnology applied to, say, new materials.
That's what I was going to say about hemp.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, and when I was in Jamaica, I was really looking for hemp clothing and cloths for the spa, the healing spa. And of course, it was very hard to come by and unable to find it for the most part. But they're having pineapple fabrics and bamboo fabrics and these sorts of things. But then also, yes, to incorporate advanced nanotechnology, crystal technology, even copper or any of these things, because that's kind of just one of my realms of interest in healing environments and for people, you know, on a daily basis.
Okay. Well, we can incorporate the electromagnetic potential that we get from, you know, just utilizing string as a helix. We can incorporate electromagnetic systems using nanotech right into the string itself and create electromagnetic wearable material for sure. That's like not even outside of the realm. That's being done now.
Well, that's something to think about, and that's another topic to be discussed in another meeting. I've got to move on very quickly. I'm sorry, I just have to do my duty, and otherwise, you know, we have too long a video. I mean, it's our policy now to keep the videos as short as possible. So, okay, so we will move on very quickly. It's lovely seeing you here, Trishia, and I've got to move to Daniel. Iosif, Daniel, do you want to say something? Some last words before we end the meeting? Okay, so you can't speak. I've unmuted you, I believe. Okay, then we move on to Ulf. Ulf, are you in Sweden? Do you want to?
Yeah, I'm in Sweden.
Yeah, could we have a look at you?
Let's see here if I can get am I unmuted or not? Yeah. Yeah, I'm in Sweden. My camera's not working, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm
right.
still working on my fuel cells and stuff. Very interesting, both of them to listen to. A lot of similar stuff that I'm doing, and yeah, super interesting.
Thank you. James, co-chair, you want to say something before we wrap it up?
Yeah, Kevin, what new products are you working on? Anything in the pipeline? Can hear you. You're still muted.
Kevin got unmute. Oh, got mute.
Yeah.
Actually,
I'm just about to mute myself again. Yeah, I'm working in the agricultural facilities that we started to develop through the testing of the Ormus. These are expanding, and a lot of the dispensaries in our area are really wanting our product after testing it. It's coming back extremely clean and extremely energetic. So basically, I'm trying to get back down to ground level work in manufacturing and production. All the same while, our electromagnetic systems we use, they require a fair amount of power. So we're looking at different options of refracting magnetic waves, and we're using them. I have several options of removing the magnetic signature right from power systems. And we can actually refract that magnetic wave into a secondary toroidal transformer, creating, basically splitting any power system. I'm not really applying that right now because I need to get into this a little more seriously. And to do that, I need equipment, I need money. And so I know how to generate the revenue. So I'm applying my time right now in production so that I can self-maintain and self-build and grow. And then again, apply what we're doing through the electromagnetic engineering right back into these horticultural production facilities so that we can contain it and maintain our production and accelerate it, of course.
oh, thank
Are you
you.
getting any
Kevin,
support from? Huh?
Support from, no, there's
Support from the university level,
no,
academia,
that's not support. That's misdirection.
grants.
yeah, actually, we've gone through that, James. Yeah,
Grants are how you control people. That's how you control information, is through grants.
yeah, Kevin and I had gone through that in our conversation. Actually, I wanted to say, folks, I mean, you are watching this video, right? And I want to say that Kevin and Marina, both our speakers today, has actually brought so much information for us. And Kevin has been doing so much. He's the most hardworking person I've ever actually seen, and he's facing horrendous problems right now because PayPal has stopped his payment and blah blah blah, and this happened and that happened. So actually, it's not good, and he's having a terrible time. And I'm appealing to you out there. I mean, if you could just pay forward, if you got some extras, donate some to Kevin so he could continue with his great work, which
I don't accept donations. I don't accept donations.
You don't accept donations.
No,
All right.
No way. No, we work in production. We don't need to pander. What I have is production facilities. We've got agricultural systems. We've got some of the highest quality extracts available anywhere in the world right here. And we
in that case, you accept orders, right? So
yeah.
if
well, the issue has been what the whole thing with PayPal has been. It affected our distribution ability. It affected our ability to maintain what we're doing, and that's where it was like, well, we just need better ways, methods, and more people involved with more distributors. So that can't happen. We got to get into a ground level system where we work with people and not corporations, and then this is self-maintained.
I have a message for you. What they said was, why would you want to be in a system that is corrupted?
That's part of my issue is I don't want.
Yeah, so it's a good thing. Don't take that as a negative, take it as a positive, because anything that is off balance with your vibration of your consciousness will pop and open, and that's how you're going to start looking for other avenues that will resonate whatever you do, and the problem will be solved.
Absolutely.
Well said, Marina.
Our monetary system is built to suffocate us. And once we start getting into in that realm where we start having difficulties with our finances, difficulties with people creating barriers in front of us, it creates, like say, that emotional disturbance, which what it's designed to do. It's designed to distract us from our true pathway here and push us back into this trap. So,
but I think
I still feel the way I feel, and it takes those feelings for me to make that effort, take in another direction, and find another way.
I think taking what Marina said further is, if I may put it this way, just to rethink this phrase, necessity is the mother of invention, Kevin. So if they stopped you here, they stopped you there, they attacked you here and there, then maybe it is forcing you to think of other ways and means of getting things done,
which will create a new system.
Yeah, it's opening up other ways for where this information is going to go as well. If it's not going to go into certain areas, it's going to go into others. And this is the way we do this and test this. We have to find the right people, and we have to find the people that are impeding this and move away from them and isolate them so they don't have that ability. And it takes time to do. And the information, I mean, I truly believe that once people understand the importance of electricity and the simplicity of it, we'll be able to connect to our planet and our minds, ourselves. We'll be able to really be able to see ourselves, because we're not really seeing ourselves right now. We're seeing a manufactured commodity. And when we can actually recognize ourselves inside of that, we're going to change. We're just going to be like hell, I'm going to be that commodity. I'm not a consumer. I want to be a producer. I want to be someone that leaves more behind than I take here.
Sure.
And that's what my focus is right now, and exploring that and sharing that information with other people without alienating them, without being so strong and forceful that they just go, oh wow, you're too much, I'm not prepared for this. And that's what happened originally. It is, I need to be able to take a step back, we all do, and basically see how we're communicating. It doesn't matter what information we have if we're communicating it wrong. If it's not getting through, we have to take a step back, reformulate our approach, and think about a better way to share this info. And that's really what it comes out. After my conversation with you yesterday, Crystal, I really, really thought about this, and it came hard and fast. It hit me very, very fast. It was just, this needs to be understood for us to recognize what we're doing here. We need to recognize consciousness through the electromagnetic functions. And once we start understanding what we're doing with that, it will be very, very, it will be effortless for us to expand on this, because we have the steps for that now.
Sure.
We just haven't communicated those steps accurately enough. And when we do, it's going to help.
And I think that this should go with the quantum manifestation, how we do that, because that's how we're going to connect your work with my work, because that is literally goes hands in hand. So all that situation that is going, you will know how to create your reality and project your hologram into.
Well, I can see so many connections, Marina, with the other scientists and developers of free energy technology who's been with us in FESIG. I can see so many connections with you from their directions. How they
I think that knowledge is universal. If you go down on my channel, marinajacobi.com, my website, all the way down is the quantum manifestation. Or you just put my name, Marina Jacobi, and you're gonna see all the stuff. Go from part 1 all the way down, because it's connected. And what I've noticed, like if people didn't understand, they will give me more information. And that's how we evolved. They literally knew how we getting the information. So that's why everything is evolving. Every time is something new.
Yeah, and viewers, you can get that for free. Marina's not charging for that work, and we applaud
I'm not
her.
charging.
Yeah,
People just, it's open book. If people want to support my work, they do. And I was specifically told not to take money out of people for charging and put in a condition, because they said if you put a condition, you create in the timeline of reality that is a condition to you, and the only thing you would see is monetary system that is not the entire expansion of consciousness, which you can literally manifest something through some kind of a situation, whatever you need. It's all probabilities. And you cannot open the entire structure of the quantum field to receive whatever is to infinity in probabilities if you only stick yourself in a little box, you know, that is only the monetary system. In the meantime, anything could come to you through any type of synchronicity, any type of timelines and realities.
Exactly. Yeah. So this meeting is very, very long, this second session. So it doesn't mean that we're not being fair with Marina, because Marina had a much shorter meeting than Kevin has. But it's because this second meeting, Marina's here as well with Kevin, and we are having a sort of a forum discussion of panelists in a way. So it's like, well, you know, it's longer. So
well, it's fantastic because it's actually showing a mechanical and electromagnetic methodology of testing and applying what Marie's been discussing, because these energetic functions are part of that magnetic phase that we cannot see. We can feel these things, and this is where those internal feelings, that communication that we undergo with our own selves, this is where it can really be expanded. And it's just fantastic hearing this, because there's a connection between the physical, the electromagnetic, and the physiological. And it's all, now we can begin to test this and share this and teach this in all aspects of it without leaving these gaping holes where people are struggling to catch up, trying to understand metaphysics without understanding the physics behind these electromagnetic functions. We now have an exploratory method of going through this and testing it and teaching it and utilizing it and applying it. And if some people don't understand it, but they're still able to gain value from it, that's great. By utilizing it and gaining these values, they will gain an understanding of it, because that's what this is. It's all information. So it's
Kevin, can you give us your webpage again, and we'll wrap this up?
Oh, it's
I've already done it, Fraz.
Yeah, it's VancouverIslandOrmus.net. It's easy to find.
Kevin, could you show that? Share screen, show that to the viewers.
Share screen.
Quickly. Yeah.
I don't think I have it on my screen right now.
Well, you mean the one that I was showing for you on your behalf?
Share screen. I've got it now. I just had to make sure it was up. Hold on. These buttons here. Okay, 1 second. Share screen on, and this is the website here. Right here. No, that's this is my website. Yeah, so this is it doesn't show the web page route. It's www.VancouverIslandOrmus.net. But just type Vancouver Island Ormus in the Google.
I'll write it on the chat and I'll link it up on the site.
Yeah. You can find it pretty easy now, which is good. So, and as soon as you go into the learn more, we get right into the first FESIG. There we go. First meeting that I attended.
The first meeting that you did. Yeah. Wonderful. Right. I shared this already earlier, so people can actually go look at the video and go back to see the page. Right. Okay. So I have to wrap it up now, Kevin. So can you stop share screen?
Sure.
You can't do that?
You betcha.
Done. Okay. Done.
That was easy.
Right. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming here to join us for this 47th FESIG meeting on the 6th of December, the last meeting of the year, and join us again for the 48th FESIG meeting on the 3rd of January. I know you'll be celebrating New Year and all that, but you know, that's a time when we can get together more easily, because you don't have to worry about having to go to work or having to sleep early or blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so it's been wonderful. Thank you, Marina, for your presentation, and thank you, Kevin, for coming back again and doing this repetition is the first law of learning for everyone, so they can actually go back and look at your blueprint and start making the device themselves. So there you are. Everyone, and I would like to say, there being no other business, this meeting is now adjourned to the 48th FESIG meeting on the 3rd of January. Thank you, everyone. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.